Hello, and welcome to the Publishing Twins podcast. I'm Tasha.
Hi, and I'm Sophie. And today, something got us thinking about bad endings. We both actually independently saw a post on YouTube by Elizabeth Wheatley. And if I say book goblin, you probably know who I'm talking about. She was talking about romance books and being what's expected by their readers, and they're expected to have a happy ending. And if they don't, she stated quite categorically she doesn't think that's romance. It's another genre. And she did use Romeo and Juliet as her example because she said that's not a romance, well, not a pure one anyway. It's a tragedy. Thank you very much, Shakespeare.
Yep, she definitely has a point. There are expectations that go with certain genres and subgenres, and if you do not fulfill those expectations, you're not fulfilling the genre as you have declared it.
Yeah, so what we're thinking about today is, what does it mean? What does having a bad ending to a story, whatever format that is, what does that mean to us?
See, a bad ending isn't necessarily one you dislike. It's one that's unsatisfactory and does not fulfill the requirements, that disappoints the audience because it didn't do what it said on the tin.
Yes. And I mean, there are some excellent art stuff out there, I think, that can get away with that. But most writers of any format have to, if they're making a bargain with their audience, and if you don't fulfill that bargain, that's when you get a bad ending.
Yeah.
But I think if we actually step back a minute and actually think about this, I think it's easy to say what we don't mean necessarily by a bad ending.
Yes. It's like, we don't mean that it's a bad ending if it's unhappy. I mean, personally, I like a happy ending. But unhappy endings aren't necessarily bad ones. I mean, look at Japanese horror movies. Mostly, everybody's dead by the end because there's no way out. It's just you've got a curse running after you and that's it. You're done. Like, Ju-on, The Grudge. Everybody dies. But that's the point of the movie. So it has met its requirements.
Yeah, and that one's true. But also, it doesn't have to be. Well, I suppose this is still a kind of horror movie because it's Stephen King. But The Green Mile, you know that that's not going to have a really happy ending. It's not. It's not designed to. It's not telling you it's going to have a really happy ending. It's because it's looking at injustices as well as the characters in it. The whole point of that is
it will make you cry.
Yes, it does make you cry, but it invests you in the characters, even the ones that end up getting executed, and not the ones mistakenly executed, the ones that were executed for being bad people.
Yes.
It's very well written. Because that's based on a short story by Stephen King. It's not even a long story, and I think they filled that one out really well and created a really good story in The Green Mile. I mean, you are torn to bits by the end of that movie. And I must admit, I haven't read the short story. I really ought to go and do that because I do like that. I will go back. I don't say it's a comfort watch, The Green Mile, but it is one that leaves me very satisfied. It's a good story.
It dots all the I's and crosses all the T's. And even though you're bawling your eyes out by the end, it's like, yes, that's how it had to end. The next thing with we don't mean that realistic endings are bad either, because sometimes your story requires a realistic ending. For example, war stories. I mean, every war story out there, you're not going to get to the end with all the characters. That's just how it goes. I mean, look at the Guns of Navarone. I think 3 of them survive. It's been a while since I've seen it. But you end up, you've got this whole team of commandos, and you know that some of them are not getting to the end of this story because they're up against Nazis, and it's like, yeah, that's not going to happen. But because the climax of the story is what you are expecting, and it ticks its boxes.
Yeah.
So it has a realistic ending, and there you go.
And the other thing we do not mean about a bad ending is a surprise ending, because sometimes surprises are good things as long as I don't say you're expecting it. It's not a surprise if you're expecting it, but as long as you're not unhappy with being surprised, if you see what I mean. As long as it's not a Deus ex machina, which that's a Latin phrase meaning God from machine. Or the machine, God from the machine. And it means a plot device that is where it's, well, you've written yourself into a corner probably. And you then conveniently, you suddenly solve it with an outside influence that is both unexpected but undeserved as well. Because you can have things coming in from left field that actually you feel fits. But sometimes, I mean, it comes from Greek theatre. The term comes from Greek and Roman theatre, where the writer a play had actually gone, oh, I don't know what to do here, and they literally lowered an actor as a god from the ceiling, who went, and this solves all the problems.
Given the context and the theology behind it, that actually works in that context. The problem is, if you just go and God's hand came down and fixed this in a modern movie, people will just leave the theatre. So it's like, it's sort of it's something that very, very rarely works.
Yeah, because there is there's one that, I mean, it does kind of work, but I'm dissatisfied. I don't give the movie much credit because I'm dissatisfied with it anyway. But it's when there's no foreshadowing, no warning, no build up to things, and the save is unearned. You're left thinking, well, that was a bit shit. And I was left feeling that with the remake for Clash of the Titans.
Oh, I hate that movie.
Well, see, I love the original, the 1980s movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's absolutely brilliant. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
But the bit I'm talking about specifically about Clash of the Titans, the remake, apart from him keeping going on about I'm a man, not a god type stuff, it's just kind of shut up.
It's like, stop whining.
Yeah. Was the bit where at the end, after you've had all this, I think it's Calibus, isn't it, that kills Io, who isn't a character in the original movie anyway. She was inserted into the new one. And Zeus just brings her back at the end. And it's a case of, and I was sitting and go, well, I knew this was going to happen because I know the actress, and I know that no one's going to kill off Gemma Arterton without bringing her back, especially not in this movie. But I was very dissatisfied with the way that happened, because I thought, yeah, that doesn't, well, I think because I was expecting the whole relationship between Andromeda and Perseus, which is in the original movie, and it kind of is just not there in the remake. I just really felt dissatisfied by, well, I think dissatisfied by the whole of, I suppose that whole movie was
they made fun of Bubo. How dare they made fun of Bubo. They lost me as soon as that happened. That was it. It's like, no, I'm out. Yeah, and another modern ending, which was somewhat dissatisfactory, was Stranger Things 5. The biggest problem was it failed to answer questions that it had put through 4 other seasons, and then just went, let's not worry about those. And the biggest problem was the fact there were no demos in the final battle. I mean, it's like the entire fandom went, you what?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not as big a fan of Stranger Things as you are. I mean, I enjoyed it, but I really didn't catch everything through it because I was watching it casually, unlike you, who's obsessed with it. But I do agree with you that there were bits of the final series that you were going, well, it's kind of not really. It's left you feeling a bit, well, it was okay, but it wasn't. There wasn't the previous 4 seasons, which all had these things that we really loved, and you really thought it was well written. They were good stories. Yeah.
And the biggest problem was Elle had earned her happy ending and didn't get it.
Yeah, sorry, spoilers, folks.
And I think it was a lack of imagination, frankly. Because the fandom can handle it fine. You just have to look at all the fanfics that have been written for it. But then that's what fan fiction is for, fixing it when the writers screw it up a bit.
Yes, we're coming from a point. We have to say we are coming from a point at this point, because we've been in fandom a long time, that when Highlander the series came out, we the fans were so upset with the ending of season 5 and what was happening in season 6 that we actually organised our own fanfic season, and we wrote it, we cast it, so we had lots of different writers. That's the first time I think we were ever editors, wasn't it? Because we were editors as well as writers, and we organized that season. We put the stories because we asked people to submit their ideas for stories, and then we kind of sorted them into an order that made sense. Yeah, well, we tried.
We tried. And, some of it.
And then we worked with all the writers to produce their episode.
Yeah.
And it's not up yet anymore, is it?
I've still got it, but I don't think it's not live anymore because it's in a bit of website that isn't online anymore. But it is right. It does still exist. It just isn't live anymore. You can't get to it, I don't think.
Maybe we should put that up again for everybody that was involved, and get that up somewhere. But we'll talk about that. But because you said we had titles, we cast all the actors for each episode. We asked the writers who they wanted to cast, so it really was a bit of who's your favourite actor at the time. So you'll see who these people's favourite all the writers' favourite actors were in the 90s. Because that's when we wrote it, and it was and that's when, I mean, as we said in our previous discussion about AI and talking about the history of the internet and where we came from, you could just put up a website and expect people to see it at that point, and so that it's up on.
You didn't have to worry about algorithms or being on one of the big name sites. You could just create your own website and put it up, and there it was, and everybody could see it. And another 90s show that really dropped the ball was Forever Night. Yeah. More spoilers. Yeah. They killed off the 2 main characters in the finale, which so pleased the fandom. Oh my lord. Yeah, that was. Yeah. Can you see the issue here? The sort of let's kill off a main character because it's dramatic. Writers, they reach for it
purely for drama. I mean, as a writer, you really have to think about how you're using your characters. Is this a self-indulgent thing as a writer, or is it a good part of the plot? Because you can get self-indulgent about these things, and that's why it's important to discuss things with editors. To talk about things and work things through, because you might have a yen to do something and kill off a character, but is it really progressing the plot?
Yes. Is it progressing the plot, or is it just because you want to shock them? It's shock value is not a valid reason for doing something.
Although a lot of modern series think it is.
Oh God, do they? Ugh. It really is crazy how they're just, we'll kill a character because we can. And it's like, they're far too fond of it.
Yeah, I think that kind of thing. But it's also things like breaking the formula.
Yes.
because I mean, Harry Potter, we were both very big Harry Potter fans before all the problematic stuff started with the fandom. And one of us, I have to say, not the other one, finished reading the seventh book. I mean, that's a big tome. It's a big, heavy thing. And I slogged my way through that book because I wanted to get to the end of the series. When I got to the end, was I happy with it? No, I wasn't. I thought the ending was absolutely, well, I think the whole book, that if you look at the whole series, I mean, the whole book doesn't fit because she broke the formula. You have 6 books before this one where you go to Hogwarts at the beginning of the year. You have an adventure in Hogwarts. Yes, they get more dangerous. Yes, they get more adult and dramatic. They're not so much Enid Blyton and Roald Dahl as a little bit more risky. But they had a formula. It happens at Hogwarts. Whatever the arc is, it goes through the book. And yes, the books were getting longer. I wasn't objecting that the books getting longer. I objected to the formula changing and we going on a blooming quest.
Yeah, it wasn't satisfying because it didn't feel right.
And the fact you split up all the major players and they have them in different places. And I mean, that can work again, but that whole story just, it didn't work. It didn't work.
But then number 5 wasn't a good book either, whereas number 6 was a good book.
Yeah, well, anyway, I think that's enough about Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Shall we now talk about what we think is how to actually write a good ending?
Yes.
I mean, I think let's state for the beginning that we are happy ending junkies. I think we said this before. We are happy ending junkies. We do like a good happy ending.
Yeah. I'm definitely into happy endings, and bad endings have scarred me for life on several different things. I mean, I noped out of Lord of the Rings the first time because Boromir died.
Yeah. And also, I have to say, an ending that isn't a bad ending overall because it's the middle story of 3, but on its own, really traumatized us as kids, was The Empire Strikes Back.
Oh, yeah.
We had no idea. We had no idea. I mean, well, we were really young kids at this point. And so we were expecting a sci-fi adventure fantasy romp, which it wasn't. It was much more, it was much darker. And the whole theme of I mean, as an adult, I can see, yes, it was meant to be darker. It is, I mean, the clue's in the name. The Empire Strikes Back. Yes, the bad guys win.
Yes, that's there. And that can work. So that shows you how a not perfect ending can really work very well. Because The Empire Strikes Back it's the best one. It's a brilliant movie. Absolutely brilliant movie. But I do like happy ending. But also that perfectly illustrates how you do a good ending to a series of movies. Let's forget that they did all of the others for now. And just remember that there were 3 to begin with. Yeah. The 3 to begin with. That had a satisfying ending. I mean, people might not like Ewoks, but I love Ewoks. And Return of the Jedi has really a big place in my heart. But it's a good ending to the series. And when you're writing a series, it is actually even more difficult. Because each book or each movie or each episode has to have an ending. But the end of the series also has to have an ending. You need to wrap up everything. When you're finishing it for good, you have to wrap up everything that you've got back there. I mean, that was one of the big problems with the Stranger Things ending. It just forgot half of the stuff it had going on and just, let's not worry about that.
They clearly didn't have a Bible.
Not a proper one. Although I think actually some of the writers in the writers' room did, and they were ignored. Frankly, I think is what happened. Given having seen behind the scenes and what happened, Because one of the writers did actually point out that there needed to be demos in the final battle, and we're not ever forgiving them for that. It's not just demogorgons, it's the demodogs and the demobats as well. They're called demos.
Oh, yeah.
See?
There we go.
Yeah.
That's
Sorry.
a fandom term. Yeah.
Sorry, should have underlined that a bit better, I think. So with a series, it is very hard, but TV writers seem to be really bad at it a lot of the time. They just don't know what to do. So they do something shocking instead of something that actually ends the series properly. I mean, you can understand if they get cancelled and they've got a cliffhanger, it's not their fault. Because they wrote the cliffhanger so they wouldn't get cancelled, and then they got cancelled anyway. So, that's not their fault. That's all the powers that be fault. But if you've been given the chance to write the ending to your show, don't kill off your characters just because you feel like it.
Right, so, okay, after that little rant, Tash, how do you write a good ending?
Yes, that is the question, isn't it? Well, I think the first thing you have to do is consider what you haven't told your audience yet. Be it in film, be it in the play, be it in a book. You don't have to say everything. You don't have to tie off everything in a neat little bow. But you do have to give them enough so that it's satisfying. And if you don't know where that is, I would suggest that you write long and edit short. Because if you get everything in there, you can then see whether it's overwhelming or not.
Yeah, I agree. There are, recently I've been listening to the Thursday Murder Club audiobooks, which I absolutely love. I think they are fantastic books. I love the stories. They are definitely cozy mysteries, so you are expecting a happy ending. We'll just say that. But I think it was the fourth book. The fourth book. There were an awful lot of plots going on in that book. And they were all necessary. They were all really interesting. But at the end of the story, I found myself thinking, oh, we've just tied that one off. Oh, now we're going over here and tying that one off. Oh, now we're over here and tying that one off. And I was ticking off the plots that were getting tied off and finished. And I've never caught myself doing that. I don't know if it was the format or anything, but I just found myself thinking, we are walking round the plots that we haven't finished and we're finishing everything off. Yeah. Which I wasn't dissatisfied with. It wasn't about being happy with those endings, because I love those books and I love the endings. It was just, I actually found myself thinking as a listener that it was I was conscious of the fact we were going step by step and finishing everything off, whereas I hadn't had that in the other books. There were some other books where there were a couple of separate endings that went one after the other, but they all flowed and they all worked. Whereas this one, it just felt a bit like we were stepping from point of view to point of view and finishing that bit off.
Yeah, you mean it was as if the author just went, oh no, I haven't done that. Better do that. Better do that. Better do that. Whereas it could have been maybe a little bit more finesse.
Yeah, I think that's probably it. And I'm probably being, I am being really picky, because I think it was a great book. I'm dissatisfied with the book, and it didn't leave me annoyed or anything. So they didn't commit a serious faux pas. I just remember thinking that, why is this step by step? Why aren't we flowing a bit more when they have I think maybe it was because the sheer number of plot points, because it wasn't just the murder, it was the relationships and everything that were being put together. So it was book 3 or book 4, I can't remember which one it was, but I just remember actually consciously thinking about that. So I'll just leave it there.
Basically, and sort of, and when you have written long, that your editor is your best friend, because your editor will, because an outside view is always very useful, which is why writing long and then editing short is the best idea, because you've got another person to look at it who can help you with doing all that.
Yeah, and I know we've done that when we've been doing each other's content sometimes, haven't we?
Yeah.
But any editor, every editor, listen to what they're telling you, because they have the expertise. It's like when we were doing Highlander the fan fiction season. I mean, we were working with people from all over the globe. We had some people whose first language wasn't English, and they wrote beautifully, I have to say. Their stories were fantastic.
Hats off.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Writing in not your first language. I can write in English just about. Yeah. Yes, when it comes to the plot and making sure it's flowing and stuff, the developmental editor is the person that's going to tell you if you've missed anything out, and you really have to work with them and do a. They're very good at catching stuff. They're the kind of person who on a TV show would write the Bible and keep the Bible up to date. The Bible, by the way, folks, it's not a literal Bible. What we're talking about is when you're doing a TV series, and I don't know what form these are in now, but they used to have a Bible which is all the important plot points noted down for continuity's sake. So if you're going back, people go, oh yeah, so and so did that in season 1 and stuff like that, and they're making sure it all links through. Some series have really, really good Bibles,
and some don't. You can tell too.
Yeah.
it's like, oh, look at that huge plot hole you just missed entirely. Yeah. The next thing you have to do is also, when you're writing your ending, is consider, have you fulfilled the expectations of your genre? So like what we started with, the romance thing. Does it have a happy ending? If it doesn't have a happy ending, yes, your story cannot have a happy ending, but don't tell everybody it's a romance. And if you've written the rest of it as a romance, then I'd probably give it a happy ending, because otherwise you're just going to end up in a whole mire of trying to put it in a pigeonhole that it doesn't fit.
Yeah, then call it a tragedy or a realistic drama or a drama, romantic drama or something.
Yeah.
It's not a pure romance.
Yes, and it wants to be. I mean, I suppose some endings necessarily aren't satisfactory, but as long as the rest of the story leads you to that impression, that's fine. But if you give them an ending that is not satisfactory, they will hate you for it if there was no foreshadowing and world building to tell you that this was what was going to happen.
In Game of Thrones, I think, if we can drop that in here,
that's how not to write a good ending.
Yes, that really was. That was shock factor. That was a shock factor ending, wasn't it? And maybe we've been cancelled. We need to finish this off in less episodes.
Yes,
ending.
That was.
I don't know what they were thinking. They just didn't get that one right.
No,
I mean, not a Game of Thrones fan, have to say, but yes, I have seen the dissertations that people have written, and they have written a lot of words have been written about this, and a lot of video essays have been written about how they got it wrong. And yes, they did.
Yeah, and if you've got that many people going, oh my God, you did it wrong, then you probably did. It's because, I mean, that was basically unanimous, I think. I don't think there was anybody who actually liked the way they ended that.
No.
I think a lot of it was it was too fast. They were trying to get too much into too small a space, which meant nothing made sense because you hadn't had the build up for the characters to do what they did. I think is the big issue with that.
It was a Deus Ex Machina, wasn't it? Oh, we're going to turn you bad now because you're the because you're going to do the bad stuff now because we need someone to do it, so you're doing it type stuff. I believe that was kind of the point I think that people were making.
people have argued that if there had been a build up to that, so if there had been another season in the way, I think, where this started happening, it would have made sense. But the problem was, it was like, oh, the character has just had a personality transplant. I think is the problem.
Yeah.
Knowing where to stop with your ending is actually quite difficult. Everybody thinks starting a story is difficult. No, starting the story is the easy bit. Finishing the story is the bit that is actually, because just to know when to stop. When does the story finish? I mean, I'm harping back to Stranger Things again, but we did not need an hour-long epilogue. It was entirely unnecessary. No. You could have done that in 15 minutes. And it was not necessary at all. We could have had another half hours of plot that people would, I mean, yeah.
I do agree with that, because speaking as I'll call myself an outsider for Stranger Things, because I just enjoyed watching it. The ending was a case of how many, it's a bit like the Richard Osman thing, actually. How many plots are we going through to finish off? And we're seeing every single one of them, but not the ones we wanted.
No, not the right ones. That was the problem. Whereas with Richard Osman, at least he was finishing the plots you wanted. With Stranger Things, it was like, do you know? But what about that? And how about that? And exactly how did that happen? And could you please explain anything?
It's a bit like, I'd say it's a similar thing to the prequels in Star Wars, where George Lucas went straight to sci-fi and tried to explain the Force and things.
Yeah,
I mean,
we didn't want to explain the Force,
but we didn't want that. We didn't want that explained. Magic happens here. It's magic. It's sci-fi with magic. That was the whole point of the first
Star Wars.
That's why they worked. It's fantasy with a bit of sci-fi around the sides. I think when trying to explain midichlorians and how the Force works, no, let's forget about that. I heard it spoken once and went, what? You're explaining the Force, stop it. That was my instant reaction.
I think most of the fandom went, no, we're not, we're just ignore that bit. Because it's like, nah, no interest, no. Back to endings.
Yeah, I think endings as well. If you're going to put fan service in the ending, or in the plot itself, actually, just remember. Oh, should we explain what fan service is before we make the point?
But
fan service is where you've been listening to what the fans want to see, and of course you get lots of people talking about things. I mean, we do as fans, we have a lot of conversations. That's what's so fun about fandom. You can sit and talk things through, and that's why we end up with fanfic, because we want to write those things, so we do. But fan service is where the writers have been listening to the fans and write in some of the things that they've said they want to see. Sometimes it works, sometimes it really doesn't. But if you're going to do it, just remember that you are never going to please everybody.
You can't please everybody, but you can satisfy everybody as long as your ending fits.
So fan service is something you have to be really careful with, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, but I know one fan service that worked really well. We got an entire show out of it. Now, a lot of people probably haven't heard of this, but Highlander the Raven was literally a show demanded by the fans. They wanted to do a spin-off from Highlander the series, and they wanted to do it with a female immortal. And they had all of these, and basically season 6 of Highlander the series has all these different female immortals that could have been the spin-off. And then the entire fandom went, no, we want Amanda, do it, please. And they actually did. We were shocked. And actually, it did actually please everybody. It was a good series. Unfortunately, it only lasted one season. But it was a good show. And it had the character, the female character, we all wanted in it, rather than a random one they'd just come up with.
Yeah, I mean, the actresses were really good who played the female immortals they introduced, but it was absolutely obvious that they were running pilots for the spin-off show to see which one everyone liked. And of course, then Everyone said, no, we want Amanda. She's the one that's been in the series since the beginning.
Yeah, she's been in since season 1. Could we have her, please?
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah. And it worked really well. So that was a good way of doing it. But you have to be careful, because the problem with fan services is you might end up really, really, really annoying everybody, especially if you do it wrong. It is quite possible to do it very wrong.
So I think we bounced through quite a few examples of how not to do it. And how to do it, because there are good ways of writing an ending. And I think, Highlander the Raven, let's finish there, because I think that was an excellent series. And after Season Sucks of Highlander, yes, we call it Season Sucks.
Yeah,
And there will people who disagree with us, but we didn't watch Season 6.
There was only one good episode, and that was the Mythos and Joe episode.
We shouldn't have the main character in it.
Yes.
Yeah. So
fun.
Yeah. We got really invested in that series. It was an excellent show.
It was our first big online series, basically, and so the first one we were really active in an online fandom, and so it has a very special place in our hearts. And we still have many friends from that fandom. Yeah,
we made a lot of friends there. Yeah. So so where are we going? Okay, let's finish this off, shall we? And say let's summarize this. To write a good ending, consider what you've promised your audience. What bargain have you made with your audience when you started the story? What genre you're writing in can have an influence, although you can break the genre rules. You just have to do it well. And use your editor, because they will help you write long, edit short, and your editor will help you finish it all off properly and satisfactorily, and with everything tied off properly and not too obviously. Don't step through.
Yeah. If you have an example, or if you want an example of where the editor is incredibly important, Star Wars, the original trilogy.
Yeah.
Because George Lucas's wife at the time did the editing for those movies, and she did an amazing job. And so, that show and some of the issues with the other 3 that she didn't do, that's the example of why.
There's another 6, Tash, now.
I know, but they're done by a different director. The first 3 were done by Lucas still.
Okay, yeah, to be fair, yeah, okay. Mm-hmm.
Thank you very much. I had a point. Endings are important, but you can do them well. And a good ending will have people hanging on for your next book or your next play or whatever you're writing.
Elizabeth Wheatley, Book Goblin, we agree with you. Romance should have a happy ending.
Oh, undoubtedly.